Assalamu alaikum viewers. So today we have got an amazing guest with us, and his name is Mohamed Isa. And I got to know him from a meeting in Islamabad during a leadership conference in Islamabad. And I was blown away by his charming personality. He was master of the ceremony over here. And I've observed him that he was very witty and very knowledgeable at the same time. So I continued our interactions and we kept on interacting online as well. And today I thought about getting to know more about him, basically scratching the surface. I had a feeling that I barely know him, and it was like knowing the tip of the iceberg. So it was better to know him in detail. In his previous life, he was CFO, Chief Financial Officer, and then he quit, and then he embarked upon his startup journey. So that is what it makes it relevant to our channel. So as you know, we cover stories of people who have been able to unlock their true potential, and Muhammad Isa is one of those people who has not only unlocked his potential, but is helping many people across the world discovering their potentials too. So Muhammad Isa, he has been an award-winning writer and has got an amazing series of books that you must read. We'll talk about that in this podcast today as well. And then he has been on adventures, and I was blown away that he's jumped off a skyscraper in Las Vegas and he's done some skydiving. And I've got to know that he has climbed to base camp of Mount Everest. Now going to jump into our discussion because I am very excited to have him with me. Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad.
وعليكم السلام.
So, Muhammad, I am quite inspired by your profile. I know profiles are just they share with us very small glimpse of a person. So I want to understand and talk about the person who has what has gone through your mind that you have been jumping off the skyscrapers in Las Vegas, and then you have been going off to Mount Everest boot camp and so many other amazing, exciting adventures that you have done so far. So I want to go a little bit behind that person and want to see what happens in your brains and how did it all start. That's very important for me.
Yes, yes.
So let's start from there.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Why not? Let's start even before that. I'm a risk taker by nature, and that's why during university I had developed very strong relationships with department heads, academics. We still maintain good relationships until today. And because of these relationships, the career counseling office, the head of the career counseling office, his name is Mr. Nael Al Onais. He called me to his office and said, "Come, I have something for you." So I went there and he offered me this golden opportunity. He said, "We have this opportunity for you. Unilever, a multinational company, they called us and they asked us to nominate candidates for their management training program. And the first person we thought of is you." And he said something. He was very smart. He was very smart, and it was a lesson in how to influence others. So he said, "You will have world-class training. You will have a very decent salary. You will carry the name Unilever in your CV forever. There is one catch. You will be working from Jeddah." And I thought, "Oh, Jeddah, it's very far from Bahrain." But then he said this: "You don't have anything to lose. They'll send you a plane ticket. You will stay in a five-star facility for the selection process. If nothing happens, at least you have flown and you have stayed in a five-star facility." And of course, that time I never stayed in a five-star facility in my whole life. So that was in itself an incentive. So I went through the process of the selection, a very long, very arduous selection process. They collected 800, they usually collect 800 to 1,000 applications. And the applications are not the regular applications you see here and there. It's 16 pages, and they have questions that will make you think so deep. And alhamdulillah, I was shortlisted. And then out of 80 applications, they selected eight, including myself and then three other Bahrainis, and the rest were from Saudi Arabia. So a total of eight. We went through the selection process, which lasts for an entire day. So we entered the offices, the headquarters in Jeddah, and I think 8 in the morning. We left at 4, and all of this time we were there were panel interviews, case studies, and team building exercises to select the best out of the best. So 4 o'clock we finished. They take us to the airport. We go back to Bahrain. We never seen anything in Jeddah, but that was okay. I received the offer a few days, and then what happened was that I accepted the offer, and instead of Jeddah, I moved to Dubai. Then Dubai, Jeddah, and then Dubai, and then I jumped back to Bahrain after qualifying as a certified public accountant from the US. Again, a friend of mine gave me the heads up. A startup company were looking for a CFO, and I jumped on that opportunity. And I remember this was one of the riskiest jumps I have done in my career, because think about it. You're talking about a multi-billion-dollars bank that has operations around the world, and you go to a startup company, and as the name suggests, it's a startup company.
Mm.
So this startup company, the capital they had at that time is a small loan to the bank. So that was a big risk, jumping from this global bank to a small startup, but it paid off. It paid off. So the risk taken has been in my life for a long time. Now, fast forward to 2015, I decided to quit corporate world and focus on my three passions, basically speaking and writing and traveling. So these adventures were part of the traveling angle of my life. And I always think, why not? Why not do this? Why not do that?
Mm.
So that's my mentality. And really, to grow as a professional, you need to try several things, because that's how you grow.
Indeed. Excellent. So you used to be a CFO, Chief Financial Officer, and then you quit, and then you embarked on this exciting startup journey. So, what was it initially like? Was it full of difficulty? Was it full of challenges? Or was it a smooth ride for you?
So I think if it's a very smooth ride, then this is a failed project by itself. Because if it's a smooth ride, there's no growth. The growth happens when you're in the middle of the ocean and there are big waves, there is a strong wind, and you don't have the fuel in your tank, and that's how you grow. That's how you navigate. But if it's a smooth, it's not. I'll tell you what happened. I had a buffer cash at that time, and I thought this would last me for a year or so to pick up business at that time. But it was a very bad timing. The oil prices were low, and when the oil prices are low, in most countries, when the budgets are low, the first thing that will go out of the window is the training budget. So that was one of the challenges I faced. That all companies, they were cutting on training budgets. You have life throw so many things at you. I had we had a health scare about my son Abdullah. He had a tumor over here, and we didn't know whether it
Okay.
was a benign tumor or something else. And we had spend money on that, and we went to the best hospital. So life can throw things at you. But here's the thing: it's called life.
Hmm.
You cannot control life. Life is uncontrollable. You control whatever you control. The rest is a wild card. It can be anything. It can be anything.
Excellent, brilliant. So, tell me a little bit about your adventures. Did you start doing these adventures after quitting after 2015? Because that's where I think you got your freedom. So you had a lot of time in order to wherever you want to go, you could
I'll
go.
tell you when the adventure started. It started very long time ago, when my father bought me a bicycle. The first time I was 3 years old, and my grandfather's house lays on the street directly. So if you open the door, you get out on the street. So the first adventure was to open the door and take the bicycle as far as I could and ride the bicycle as fast as I could. And when I got out from the house, a car hit me. That was the first adventure.
Excellent.
And I went under the car, and the car dragged me. And oh, thank God nothing happened to me, except for scratches. But that was Muhammad Isa since a young age. In Bahrain, we have so many palm trees, and palm trees they grow very very tall. So we used to climb over them and take the leaves and slide from the top. So the adventures did not start with with me leaving corporate world. They started at a very young age, and this is the wonderful childhood we had. Now children they are glued to their iPads, to their smartphones. They are missing so much.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on this that adventure basically what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So had it been you were under the car and God forbid something happened, then that would have
Yeah,
been it. But since you came out of that car stronger, so that kind of reshaped your life and your view about how basically you take risks. So
yeah,
tell me more about your adventures. Like what have you done so far? So I briefly touched upon it, but tell me what exactly have
yeah.
you done so far?
See, I think one of the most fascinating adventures of my life so far is the trek to Everest Base Camp, and it was in May 2022, and it happened like this. So, as you said, I have jumped out of a skyscraper from in Las Vegas. I've did sliding on a glass slide from one floor to another in Los Angeles. I did paragliding in Austria and Switzerland. I did so many things. I also jumped out of an airplane at a height of 4,000 meters. But then there was always the question, what's next? What's next? So I was delivering a training course in Riyadh,
Mhm.
and I told them I don't know what's next. Maybe Everest. So fast forward, that was in 2021. Fast forward to January 16th, 2022. I was browsing through Instagram feed, and I saw a sponsored ad about an expedition to Everest Base Camp. So I exchanged messages with the organizer. His name is Dr. Ali Al-Ajmi. He's from Sultanate of Oman. And I asked him, Salam, alaikum salam, is there a space? He said, yes. And I said, okay, I'd like to join. So what do I need to know? And we started exchanging messages. Then we moved to WhatsApp. And then he gave me a call, and I signed up. I didn't think really much about it. I thought, let me just go. And after going through this experience, I have a regret that I should have been there many years ago, not in 2020.
What exactly did you face there and what did you learn out of it?
Man, I'm thinking of writing not one book, books about it. Last night I published the third article in the series, Mountaineering and Leadership, on my LinkedIn page. It's called Peak Leadership. I have done so much about this trip. I have a keynote speech. This keynote speech can be turned into a workshop, a 3 days workshop. I have training manual or a training workbook that goes along with that workshop. It's nothing you've seen before. It's 52 pages. It has insight. It has places where people can write their thoughts. It's a life changing experience. That's what I can say.
Excellent.
No matter what I say about it, it's a life changing experience. And that's what I can say. I have so many things in the pipeline on this trip. We recorded a documentary last year. The documentary is about the journey. I had the five members with me were with me on the trek. We talked about it, and now the video production is happening, and then we will insert photos and videos from the trip. And I'm planning to use that documentary to join in documentary festivals around the world, just to let people experience the Himalayas, the fascination that happens during that process. After this trip, I went to London, I went to Madrid, I went to Barcelona. I don't talk about these trips. The only trip that I talk about is Nepal now, and the Himalayas and the Everest experience. My Everest speech now, I delivered this speech so many times in Bahrain, in Saudi, in Kuwait, in Dubai, in Oman, even Iraq. I have delivered this speech to different events and in different conferences. So, a few days back, I developed a new concept. Building this concept again is around Everest. It's called the summit mindset. I don't know if someone had that idea before, but I'm looking even to copyright it. The summit mindset, how to have
Never
a
heard.
mindset of the summit, where you always think about being on the top, doing what you can, and being excellent at what you do. And there are so many things, my friend. I'll tell you. The first thing I did for when I came back from Nepal is I created this bookmark.
Okay.
This picture is Everest in the background, and this is my own photo. And then these are different photos of me in different locations. So this is a bookmark people can use. And this is the extent that this trip affected me. 3 weeks ago, I printed something very inspirational for people to use. And I'm using this now in my events and in my training courses. It is this card.
Nice.
It has
Excellent.
Everest picture,
Good.
and it has a very powerful question. What's your Everest? So each of us, we have our own Everest. Everest doesn't have to be a mountain. It could be a goal. It could be an objective. It could be a target. So what's your Everest? You need to think about it. And in the bag, you have a space where you have where you can fill what's your Everest, and then there are six lines where you need to say what are you going to do about it. Six steps that you will take to go and summit your Everest. And the reason I made them six lines, not seven, not nine, is that when you go to summit Everest, first you need to reach the base camp, then camp one, then camp two, camp three, camp four, and then you go to the summit. So there are six essential steps before going to the summit. So all of these analogies, they have great implications for business and leadership, and that's why I'm so excited about this trip. And in the future, hopefully, I'm planning to launch expeditions for executives and C levels members. It will be called Everest Leadership Development Program, where we go trek to Everest Base Camp together, and throughout the trek, we will be having case studies, coaching sessions, and I will have members of the team lead the treks. So it will be an amazing experience because there are two types of learning. There is the learning that happens during the classroom, and there is what they call the experiential learning. And experiential learning have a far way advantage over sitting in the class and hearing someone talk about something. When you go to the mountain and experience leadership, you come back, you have that experience ingrained in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, and it makes all the difference.
You're getting me all excited, and I think I'm going to sign up for your expedition, and you should launch that very soon.
It would
My
be my pleasure to have you.
my my experience of going to the mountains, it was pretty limited till very recently, and I
Yeah,
always thought that I had this fear of heights and fear of places where you see the steep side. On one side you see the
yeah,
mountain, but on the other side you have the valley,
yeah,
and there's a steepness over there.
yes,
So that this is where my heart used to sink. But then I
yeah,
started
yeah,
traveling in the northern areas of Pakistan. And in fact, we have established a resort, a hotel resort over there. in Skardu. Skardu is where
I
you
know
should also.
Skardu.
We will take you there when you visit next, because there are now
Yeah.
direct flights. It's 1 hour flight from Islamabad, and there are in fact direct flights
Yes.
now from Dubai. It's an amazing place, and I fell in love with the mountains, and I really want to spend more time over there. And now that you're getting me all
I don't
excited,
blame you.
I think I'll have to.
I don't blame you at all. I don't blame you at all. People always ask me what happened to you. You know, this is not the first time you go to a mountain. I told them this was a totally different experience.
Mm,
I've been to the Alps, I've been to the Atlas Mountains, but this was out of this world. And the Skardu with K2 and all the surrounding mountains over there is an amazing. You know, that's what I said in the beginning. People should not only listen to the news or watch the news about Pakistan. They should go and experience
indeed. And second thing, when we talked about your journey, you mentioned that in your case, you have been a risk taker from the very childhood. But we see people
it. Yeah.
that people transform, they go on this spectrum from one side where they're very risk averse, but can they move to the other side where they become risk takers? What has been your experience?
I think there are two types of people: people who can change, and there are people who are never going to change. And you can guide them, you can give them the resources, you can give them the inspiration, that, but they will never move. They will never move. But there are people who are courageous. They take small steps, and these small steps lead to amazing destinations. Because if you think about it, life is a journey, and to progress in this journey, you need to take small steps. Even going to a mighty mountain like Everest or K2 in Pakistan, you only summit step by step. You cannot jump, you cannot take shortcuts, you cannot do anything. So if you're a risk averse, you need to come out of this because growth happens when there is risk. If there is no risk, there is no growth. And I like the title of your podcast. If you can remind me about it, it is. Can you say it again?
It's reinvent.
The
So
title of
basically,
Reinvent.
it's about
Reinvent.
reinventing.
You know.
It's about
Yeah.
reinventing yourself, and also
Yeah.
helping people around us discover their true potential, unlock their true potential.
See, I'll tell you something. I loved the title of the podcast, and I deliberately wanted to have you repeat it because last year, I think in October, we had one of the networking events in Bahrain, and we had a large audience, and I was on a panel, and during the whole panel, all my responses contained the word reinvention. As professionals, we need to reinvent ourselves. And a good period to reinvent yourself is 7 years. In 7 years, you can do wonder. Because, again, we talked about taking small steps, and I'm borrowing from the Quran, the story of Prophet Yusuf, or Joseph in English, uh, where the verses talk about 7 years of drought, 7 years of harvest. And I think we need to plant seeds now to harvest in 7 years. So we need to have a program, we need to have a plan. What are we going to do about our lives? Because, I'm talking about this concept all the time. And I was talking to someone almost for an hour over the phone because we haven't met for some time. And, and I told him about this concept, and he totally agreed with me that there are some people who will say, if you ask them, so how many years of experience do you have? They will say 30 years, and they'll be very proud. And you're thinking to yourself, it's not 30 years, it's one multiplied into 30 because you've been doing the same thing over, over, and over and again. So it's different. I view my career as chapters. I view my career as chapters. I attach chapters the same way I want. I choose things to do so that I fill gaps or supplement whatever I have. For example, there is something not many people know about me, especially in the LinkedIn community. I have been a tour director for 4 years since I left my job. So from uh, from July, or I think July, yeah, July 2016 until uh, September or August 2019, I was leading tours to Europe. And the reason I did that is not the money. The money wasn't great. The money was okay, but it wasn't something that will make you go and deal with different personalities on the tour, 30 to 40 people. Some are grumpy, some are happy, some are, I don't know how to describe them. But the reason I did that is to fill a gap that I have in my career. Yes, I dealt with investors, I dealt with bankers, I dealt with regulators, I dealt with Sharia committee members, I dealt with everyone you may think of, but not direct consumers. So to go and work as a tour director, as a freelance tour director for such a trips, it filled that gap. Now I know how it feels to be in the front, dealing with consumers who have different tastes, different preferences, and different personalities. And trust me, that kind of thing requires so much patience.
Brilliant. Now that's quite amazing that what you just talked about, that by one thing that I picked up from this last message is you mentioned about the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, prophet,
Yes,
and there are a huge number of lessons about his life. So one thing that you mentioned, that 7 years of drought followed by 7 years of good time, but then the story of Yusuf is full of trials and tribulations, but then it's full of lesson about patience, how you got to be patient, and in your life you will be rewarded. Imagine the misery of a person sitting in a prison, in fact in a well to begin with, and only
yes,
god is the god, or god almighty is your mustaan, as they say, helper. And then
yeah,
you come out, and then you, there is a period of good times, but then you go to prison, and then you're there for many years, and after that you
yes,
get the crown, you wear the crown of Egypt. So when you mentioned it, I was getting goosebumps, because I think Joseph
yeah,
and the story of Yusuf alayhi salam is amazing. Talking about,
yes, yes, yes.
so please go ahead.
Yes, I think the Holy Book of Quran is full of inspirational stories, and it's not just Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, it's Prophet Yunus in the stomach of the whale, and how he when you're in the stomach of the whale, that's it, man, you're done. But he had belief, he had faith, he had iman, and that's how he got out. And I'm telling people sometimes, uh, is your problem bigger than the problem of such individuals? Yes, they are prophets, they are selected by God, but we need to learn from them. So
Absolutely.
always, as a professional, you need to have a role model, whether it's Islamic or Christian belief you have, or any other beliefs you have. Just find a model and see what they have done, what they have learned, how they dealt with life. This is very important. We cannot know. We are born not knowing anything, so we need to learn and grow.
Fascinating. And the second part, you talked about taking tours to Europe. That's very fascinating as well, because I remember that Jack Ma mentioned at some point he was a tour guide early in his life. He used to take people to the Wall of China. You learn a lot from these experiences. And I'm sure the exuberance now that you've got as a speaker, it comes from this vast range of experiences, and then dealing with a super set of people, different kind of peoples, different personalities. Europeans are different from people from America, United States. They all look the same,
Yeah,
but they're massively different
yeah,
in their the way they behave and
yes,
all. So
yes.
amazing. So now tell me a little bit about your the book writing experience. How did you start? What was your first book?
That's a very nice question from you to ask, because this is a story I love to tell. This is a story I love to tell. We had a very good teacher in our primary school. she taught me for 3 years. Her name is Tarfa Abdulrahman. And a few years back in 2018, I tracked her and I managed to find her number. And I sent her a very lovely message thanking her for the inspiration because she was the one who inspired us to write. So after any school picnic, she would tell us, write about your experience. And no matter what you write, she will say, bravo, well done, good job. She will never discourage us. And I think my love for writing goes back to this amazing teacher because she was so good. She was so good. So the first book happened this way. I was doing my MBA, and I had a Kuwaiti friend. His name is Jassim Safran, and he worked in investment. And I told him, why don't you make a research on investor relations? It's a new subject. No one is talking about it. This is an opportunity for you to contribute to the field. He said, are you crazy? There are no resources about this subject. And if you're going to research with no research, prior research, you're done, finished. You will never finish because you cannot do a literature review, you cannot do any comparison with prior work. Why don't you go and do it? And that's how I said, okay, I'll do it. And thank God I received the distinction for my thesis. So one of the resources that I have used is the Middle East Investor Relations Society, which is based in Dubai. And it so happens that when I finished, they were having an annual conference in Dubai. So I booked a ticket and I went on my expense to Dubai. I thought, let me give a copy of my dissertation to the chairman of the society. His name is Arif Rahimi. He's an Emirati. So I went to him and I gave him a copy. He said, no, you shouldn't give me this. You should give it to Michael. I said, who's Michael? He said, Michael is a Polish gentleman, but he lives in London and he's here with us in the conference. So he introduced me to Michael. Michael then says, you should meet TJ. I said, who's TJ? He said, TJ is a British gentleman, but he lives in Bahrain. So I set up a meeting with TJ. He came to my office and we discussed my dissertation results for almost 4 hours. And before he left, he told me this dissertation should not be left on the shelves of the university. You should publish this as a book. And I said, I have no idea how to publish a book. He said, that's fine. I can introduce you to Jalal. I said, who's Jalal? He said, Jalal is a Bahraini gentleman. He lives in Belarus, but he's on vacation now in Bahrain. He owns a media company. I said, fantastic. Let's meet Jalal. So he arranged a meeting with Jalal. We presented the idea of the book to Jalal, and he said, let's do it. And this is the book. Where is it? It is here. This is the book.
Great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So this is a book, the first book that I published in 2010. And this book took me places that I never imagined. I was a regular speaker in investment conferences, in corporate governance conferences. I was in the news and newspapers. In fact, one of the lovely experiences I had because of this is that I was a panelist in a conference.
Excellent.
Once we finished the session, there was a break. I was coming down from the stage, and there was an English gentleman. He was walking so fast towards me, extending his hand with a business card. And he said, Mohammed, I love what you said on the stage. Can you write an article for us? I said, yeah, sure. So I took his business card. Over a weekend, I spent around 3 hours writing the article. I sent it to him. And he came back saying, is it okay if I give it to our editor? I said, yeah, why not? Give it to the editor. And when the edited copy came in, my email, I thought, wow, this is fantastic. This is great. Yeah, go ahead. He said, now we need to send you our professional photographer to take photos of you. And I thought, wow, send them. So they sent the professional photographer. We had a Kuwaiti chairman, and he had the best office in the company. And luckily, he doesn't visit the company regularly. He would visit the company maybe 4 to 8 times in a year. So I used his office for the photo shoot. And then they sent me the draft of the article, and I was blown away because they gave me 4 pages in this prestigious magazine called Bahrain Banker. And then it didn't stop over there. Uh, Abdullah, his name, the British man, his name is Abdullah Wallace. He sent me an email saying, Muhammad, what's your full name? We need to write you a check.
Excellent.
And I thought, oh my God, look at this. So I was not expecting this. I published this book as an experiment out of curiosity, out of passion for the subject, because when I was the chief financial officer for this company, I was leading the investor relations movement in Bahrain. And I've done so many things that other companies were just copying my company. So this is how the writing and publishing started. Today I have 18 books published, either as a main author or as a co-author, and there are many books on the way, inshallah.
Excellent. That's a fantastic journey. But one book title caught my eye. That's Karak. So what's Karak about? Because it's
Yeah.
another word in Urdu as well.
Okay. This book, Chai Karak, is
Yeah.
called. The main title is called Chai Karak, but there is a subtitle,
Yeah.
a customer service story. So this book is based on a real life story that happened to me between me and one of the banks. So I was very angry, frustrated with the bank. And instead of going and posting on Facebook or tweeting on Twitter, now X, I thought let me write a book about them, and that's what I did. I wrote a book about them, and of course I don't mention the bank's name. I called it Bank X, and this book is something that I've been dreaming for a long time. I read the book Who Moved My Cheese in 2001, and I thought to myself, I need to have a book like this one day, because it's not a book, it's a story. And throughout the story, you learn so many lessons. And that's what I did in Chai Karak. So this is what you see over here. Now I need to be careful to where I point. What you see over here is a book that I can use as a training manual, and it has some blank pages for the participants to fill their thoughts. This is this is a sample. I don't know if it's clear. Yes, it's
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
And not only that, each chapter will end with will have questions, quotes, and illustrations like this.
Nice.
So this is a depiction of the CEO of the bank. So now there is a follow-up book. It's called Karak Express: 247 Insights on Customer Service. It will be followed by another book called Karak Break. So you can see one incident led to a series of books.
It's a Karak. It's going to be a Karak trilogy, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's gonna get famous like that, hopefully,
Yes,
inshallah.
yes, hopefully,
I really
hopefully.
like.
I'll be like Jack Ma, a billionaire.
Yeah. So what I like about you is that you're addressing a very important topic that is customer experience. And personally, I think that now the world has moved from low cost and basically debating on the cost side of things. And for companies, organizations to cut cost, their focus is now to offer great customer experiences, and we see companies thriving these days based on that. So Starbucks is one example, and then we have got huge array of companies now which are focusing on customer experience, and they are expanding like crazy. And this is what people now love, that you are setting the bar. Every company that comes in, every organization which is basically focused on customer experience, they raise the bar, and that's great for customers as well. So
Absolutely, everyone wins.
tell me about your LinkedIn. how do you use LinkedIn and why do you use LinkedIn? What's the thought process? Because I see that you post very useful insights on customer experience and on other aspects of leadership. So it's, I think, for our viewers as well to know how they can also use LinkedIn effectively and what's the benefit of all the posts that you do over there.
I view LinkedIn as an extension of Mohamed Isa. Of course, I'm on other social media. I use Instagram, I use Twitter, I use Facebook. But LinkedIn is the main platform that I focus on. And this is the platform where I have the most followers. And I think this is what professionals should do. You should have a decent LinkedIn profile. Don't just have it like this, static. You need to be active. You need to publish posts. You need to publish articles. You need to upload useful documents. You need to engage with others. You need to provide meaningful comments, meaningful feedback on the posts you see, participate in different groups. That's how you grow your influence on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is the place to make business, basically. LinkedIn is the place to make business. And this is the most professional platform we have. Yes, you can make business on Instagram, but that's totally different. LinkedIn is very personalized professional experience that you build on, and that's why I'm focusing my energy on LinkedIn. I don't know. I have around 50 articles or something over LinkedIn. I post regularly. I engage on a daily basis. In fact, I have a checklist, and the checklist tells me that I have to engage in the groups and with the individuals. And the key over here is to be authentic and genuine. Everyone can come and say, "Well done, bravo, amazing," but that doesn't help. Be specific, provide genuine comments that come from the heart to add value to others. We're in the business of adding value.
Great. And second last question is, what's your purpose of life? What is your why?
That that's a very difficult question to answer. My purpose ultimately is to leave a positive legacy, and there is no specific goal because this is what I tell people. I always have a moving target. Now, going back to Everest, Everest has changed my perspective a lot, and I'm focusing more energy on that. In fact, if you go and see the literature on Everest and mountains, there is something called the seven summits. Each continent has the tallest summit, and there is a challenge. You go and conquer all these summits. So for me, this is the goal. I hope within the 7 years, the coming 7 years, I conquer these summits. I have the first three are very clear to me because they are manageable in terms of physical preparation and monetary investment because these things cost money. You cannot just go and be there on a mountain. You need to invest in resources. You need to invest in tools. You need to invest in yourself in terms of physical preparation, mental preparation. So last year I was supposed to climb Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, but something happened that made me stay in Bahrain. This year I was supposed to go in August, but most of the expedition groups that usually take people to Tanzania and the Gulf, they didn't have any expeditions. So maybe we organize our own expedition very soon. Then you have the Elbrus mountain in Russia, and then there is a mountain in Australia. It's not really difficult, that mountain. It's only 2,200 meters. You can do it in 2 days. Mount Kosciuszko, I think, or Kosciuszki. I'm not sure. One time I met an Australian lady and I made her repeat the name 3 times in a voice note so that I can go back to it. So the viewers of this podcast, you can go and look for this name, Kosciuszko or something like that. So I'm not just climbing for climbing, because part of it is challenge. Part of it, if you think about it, is maintaining a good physical level of we as professionals, we sit so much on our chairs, we don't move a lot. So if you go to the mountains, you need to prepare physically for that. So this is a bonus you get. You become fit in the process, and when you are fit, you enjoy life better.
Brilliant. No, I like your
So
idea.
my message to those who are watching this is find a goal that will give you so many benefits at the same time. Like what I said. Now, if I go to a mountain, I need to be mentally strong, and we all as professionals we need to be mentally tough. Everyone is talking now about mental being resilient. The mountain make you resilient. uh, Being fit, because when you are fit you are more productive. So whether it's dealing with weight training, body weight training, or cardiovascular exercises, it will make you fit. And when you are fit your brain functions better, so you'll be more creative at work. And during the process, when you go to the mountains, you meet other people, you expand your network, and you inspire people around you. So many benefits just by going to a mountain. And for me, as a speaker, as an author, uh, each mountain will give me a different story. I highlighted to you all the projects that I'm working on just because of a trip that was only for 14 days. So imagine if you have a journey of 7 years climbing different mountains around the world, be it the seven summits or any other summits. The most important thing is you continue to climb. Don't just walk, climb. That's what you need to do in your career as well.
Brilliant. I kept this. You stepped on my last question. That was about your last message for the viewers, but that's good that you've already done that. So this one I'll fit in as a second last question that I'm going to ask you now, because you have done a very good closing
Yes.
already. So my second last question would be, what's your day like? What's your routine when you, how do you maximize all of these that you think you mentioned, you fit in LinkedIn, then you do a lot of business work as well. How do you fit in all of this in a single day?
Okay, I'll tell you one of my secrets that I have been using recently. It will not it will no longer be a secret because I tell it to everyone. I don't hide anything from anyone. I always share what I know. So there is this great gentleman, Marshall Goldsmith. He's an executive coach, well known everywhere. I don't know how much he costs per session. He gives away all his resources, and I like that attitude. But there is something that he doesn't give. He has a checklist for executives, for his executive coaching. That checklist is not anywhere to be found on the internet. So I created my own checklist, mimicking what he did. So I have a checklist. It has 30 items. And if I achieve 20 items on this checklist, I give myself a 100% performance mark. So each one item will carry 5% weight. And the reason I have 30 items, not a 20 to give myself 100 out of 100, is that during the day you have different energies, you have different time slots available. So I know if I work on any of these 30 points, I'm progressing in my career, I'm progressing for my health, I'm progressing with my relationship, I'm progressing in business. So that's how I go about it. For my routine starts at 5. I'll be down working from my kitchen table, the dining table over there. I will have yogurt with walnuts, then follow that with a banana, and follow that with coffee. And while I'm doing this, I'm reading the Financial Times, scanning all the headlines, and saving important articles. After that, I read a business summary of a book. Then, if the Wall Street Journal is there, because of time differences, sometimes it's not updated. If it's there, I'll just again look at the headlines. So for me, this is very important every day to read something new, to see what's happening around the world. Then the second step is to send a very nice message to my mother every day. And this is something I enjoy because whenever I send her a message, she will pray for me. Yeah. So people accuse me of being a capitalist person. I said, no, no, no. This is when you make your mom happy. What else do you want? There's nothing else I want. Let her be happy. She suffered so much over her life, raising us. It's our time to pay back and make her happy. And then I have other lists like simple things. Well, I need to put them in the list because I will forget them. For example, taking a multivitamin or taking protein supplements. I need to take two per day. So all of these little things, if you don't put them on the checklist, you forget them because we run busy lives. And if I end my messages, because I've said a lot over here, have different projects in the same time. Many people will tell you should focus on one project only. No, have many projects. I have many books in the pipeline. When I see an idea that fits into a book, I'll just go and write it, go and fill it in that book. That's how I progress on my projects. If I just work on one project, and as an author, you have what they call the writer's block. That's it. You cannot do anything else. So if you have different projects, you can work on different projects gradually, and gradually you see that all these projects are finished. And the moment you finish one project, it will give you a boost to finish another project. That's how I work. And speaking of projects, only on Saturday I started a new book. It's called Inspiration from the Mountains, where I list the 100 tallest mountains around the world, and each mountain, the opposite side of the book will have a quote, an inspiring quote from either a mountaineer or a successful executive. So that's a book.
That's amazing and brilliant conclusion as well. So, thank you so much for your time, Muhammad Isa. I really loved learning about your life and your adventures and your books. So, that's amazing. And I wish you all the success, all the best for your upcoming projects. So, I hope that all goes well for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure to be on this podcast and बहुत शुक्रिया खुदा हाफिज
Allah Hafiz.